Hello guys, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Ifeoluwa. In this video I'll be showing you how to cut and sew this beautiful A-line dress with a cowl neckline and a snatched waistline. So if this is something you're interested in learning, please stick around and watch this video to the end because I'll be showing you everything and giving you tips on how to make this dress even better. So if you're seeing this and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe. Give my video a thumbs up and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much guys. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements I'll be using: the bust, the waist, the hip measurements, the length of the dress, the across back, the armhole circumference, the waistline measurement, the hip depth, the sleeve length, and then the sleeve width. Now I'm going to start with creating a margin there of about 0.5 inches. Now guys, this is the back pattern that I'm starting with. So this part is the back part of the dress. So from that margin that I'll drawn up there, I'll be taking the rest of my measurements. So I'll be taking my chest line measurement first, which is the armhole circumference divided by 2. So I have 9 inches as my chest line. Then I'm going to take my waistline measurement, which is 17 inches. Then from that 17 inches, I'll take my hip line measurement, that is the hip depth. So that is 9 inches for mine. So it can vary for you. It can be 8 inches, it can be 9 inches, it can be 10 inches, depends on how wide your hips, how wide you have your hips. Then from that margin there, I'll also be taking the length of the dress. So I'll be using the full length of this particular fabric because that is all I have there. Now I'm going to connect to the other side. I'm going to connect a straight line to the other side. Now I'm going to measure out my across back measurement here so I can create my armhole. So my across back measurement, which is the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2, I'll mark it on that margin, then on the chest line, and then I'll connect together. So from there, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant, and whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2, mark that point. Then from that point, I'll be coming in by about 0.5. And on the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement. So I'll be using my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'll be adding ½ inch there for ease, so that you'll be able to wear the dress well, because there won't be a zip here on this dress. So I'll be adding ½ inch for the ease. So after marking that there, I'll go ahead to connect my armhole curve on those 3 points that I have there. Now I'll measure out my neckline measurements here depending on how wide you want it to be. So I'm just using 4 inches for mine. Then for the depth of the back, I'm going to be using 1 inch because I want it to be high neck. Then I'm going to connect with my curve and also connect my shoulder slants. So I already have my chest line measurements there. Please note that I've not added my allowance, my sewing allowance yet. The only allowance I added there is just for the ease. Now for my waistline, I'm also going to do the same thing. Divide my waistline by 4 and add about 0.5 inches for the ease. Now I'll do the same thing for the hip line too. My hip measurement divided by 4 with 0.5 inches for the ease. Now if your fabric is really elastic, you can use your accurate chest line measurements for this, but because this one is not really an elastic material, that is why I'm adding 0.5 for the ease. Now for the M line, it depends entirely on you how wide you want the dress to be. But for this, I'm just going to be using my hip measurements, and then I'll be adding about 3 inches for the wideness at that down part. So if you want it to be wider than this, or you want it to just be straight down, you can use the same thing you have on your hip. But for me, I'm just going to use my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 3 inches. So here I'm adding the sewing allowance. So I used 1 inch for my sewing allowance straight down. Now I'll go ahead to also add the allowance for the armhole, the shoulder slant, and then the neckline. So I'll be using ½ inch for the allowance there. So this part, I'm going to mark out the lines for the snatching. So the first line is going to be on the waistline. Then the you can go below the waistline by 1 inch for another line for the snatching. Then you can go above the waistline, and I'm also going more above the waistline using 1 inch. So it depends on how many you want. I marked out 5 here, but at the end of the day, when I fitted this dress, I realized that I needed just 3. But just know that the one on the waistline is the most important because that is where we are snatching. So even if you have just one on the waistline for the snatching, is still going to work because it is on the waistline. So you can leave one on the waistline, one below the waistline, and also one above the waistline, which is just 3. or you can go with one on the waistline, then 1 inch on top of the waistline, and then another 1 inch on top of the other one that you've just created. So it just depends entirely on how and where you want to be snatched apart from the waistline. So now I'm just going to cut out what I have with the allowance. So when I'm done cutting out for the front part of this dress, I'm also going to notch out those lines that I've marked for the snatching on the front part of the dress. So I'm going to arrange them together and notch them. So guys, this is it for the back part of this dress. Very easy to cut. Now I'm going to move on to the front part of the dress. Now I already have my pattern here for the front part, so this is just a basic pattern for the front part. I have my shoulder line, the chest line, and then the waistline on this part. Then that is also the neckline. The same 4 inches I used is the same one I used there. Now I'm just going to split this part open, so I won't completely cut it out, so it will still be attached at the other end there. So I'm going to split it open so you'll be able to spread it out to create the cowl neckline effects. So here I'm also going to draw out a margin of about 0.5 inch for this upper part here. Now after drawing out the margin, I'm going to go ahead to fix my pattern paper on that margin. So I'll make sure that part of the shoulder slant is touching that margin there that I have on with my chalk. Now this part I'm trying to measure here is what is going to guide you on the depth of the cowl neckline. So from here you can determine how deep you want the cowl neckline to be or how exposed you want it to be. So for me, I'm going to be leaving it at 12 inches. You can go deeper than 12 inches if you want it to really fall, or you can go above 12 inches, maybe like 8 inches if you don't want it to really fall too low, so that it won't expose your body. So 12 inches is just fine for me for this one. Then I'm going to use my pin to secure what I have there, and don't forget that the shoulder slant should be the one touching the margin there. Now from here I'm going to measure out the rest of my dress. So I already have my waistline there, which is 17. Then from the waistline I'll come down and measure the hip depth, which is 9 inches, the same way I did for the back part of this dress. I'm going to do the same thing for the front. You know, the pattern paper already carries the chest line and the waistline. The next thing to do is to measure out the hip depth, which I have done. Then the rest is the length of the dress, which is the full length of this dress. Now I already have my chest and my waistline here, but I'm going to be adding the ease, which is ½ inch and 1 inch for the sewing allowance. That is what I'll be doing there on the chest line. Then I'll do the same thing on the waistline. My waist divided by 4 plus the ease, which is 0.5, and then the allowance 1 inch. I'll do the same thing for my hip. Put my hip measurement plus the ease and plus the allowance. Now for the hem line, you also do the same thing, how wide you want it to be. So I'm using the same thing for the back pattern, which is my hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches for the ease and 1 inch for the allowance. So I'll go ahead to draw everything out. Now for this upper part, the only part you'll be concerned with is the shoulder slant. So I'll be adding my 0.5 inch for the allowance for the shoulder slant, and then for my armhole I'll also be adding 0.5 inch allowance. And I'm just going to connect them together straight down to the chest line. So this upper part is going to be left straight like this. So it already has its own 0.5 inch there as the margin area there. So that is what I have. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut this out. So guys, this is what you should have after cutting out, and by the time you open it up, this is what you are going to have. And then if you want to fold it in to see how the cowl neck is, you can fold it in like this, and this is the effect. Now I'm going to cut out the sleeves for this dress. Here I'm just measuring out the armhole of the back part of the dress. So I'm measuring everything out together with the allowance, with the 1 inch allowance there. So I have about 11 inches there for the armhole of the back. Then on the front too, I have the same thing, the same 11 inches. So that means I'll be using the 11 inches for the sleeve cap of the sleeves. So this is for the sleeves. I already folded into 4 places. So I'm going to measure out my sleeve length, which is about 26 inches all together with the allowance on the upper part and the lower part. Now from that line I have there, I'll come down by 4 inch for the sleeve, so I'll be able to measure out the armhole of the sleeve. So I have 11 inches for the armhole curve. So I'm going to slant my tape rule like this and measure out that 11 inches and just freehand a curve from the sleeve cap there. Now on the hemline there, I'm going to measure out how wide I want the sleeves to be. So I'm going to be using about 10 inches or 11 inches for this. Then I'll connect from the armhole down to that part. So this is what I have for the sleeves, and I'm going to proceed to cut out. Now for the dress, that is the front and the back part of the dress, I'm going to be cutting interfacing for the neckline area. So this is for the front part, that is the cowl neck part. I'm going to cut out interfacing for this. So this is what I have for the interfacing. Then I'll go ahead to cut out for the back part too. So for the back part, I'm also going to fold like this and cut out the what I'll be using to turn over the neckline for the back. So here I'm going to cut out the rope for the dress, and then what I'll be using for the snatching. So those are the loops I'll be using for the snatching of the dress. So that's what I'm doing here. Then the rope for the snatching. So I'm using 1 inch. I'm going to be measuring out 1 inch, and I'll be cutting as long as I have for this fabric. So this is what I have after cutting out the loops and the rope for the dress. Now this is everything for my dress: the loops, the sleeves, the front part, and then the back part. So I'm going to take this to my machine to start sewing now. Now for the front parts, which is the cowl neckline area, I already have my interfacing there. Then I'm going to sew that upper part, that is like the neckline. So I'll be sewing that and also fold this part too, so that it's going to look very neat. So I'm going to sew the upper part there, and then for the back neckline too, I'll do the same thing and sew the upper part, which is the neckline area. Now after sewing all this, I'm going to go ahead to join the shoulders together. So I wasn't able to capture that in this video, but I'm going to join the shoulders together. Then I'm also going to join the sleeves together. So guys, this is what I have after joining. So I first of all went with the neckline. I sewed the interfacing to the main fabric, then I joined the shoulders, and then I joined the sleeves. So it is very easy like that. So you can see the neckline, the cowl neckline effect there too. Now the next thing to do is to mark out the loops where the snatching is going to happen. So remember, for the back part of this dress, I already marked out some parts there. So I'm going to fold this back into 4. I'm going to fold them together and then mark out again and notch. So this is the part of the back part, that part that we marked out the other time, and these are the loops that I'll be using. I already sewed my fabric and also I cut out about 4 inches. So you cut out 4 inches for the loops. So I'll be attaching them to this place. Now I'm just going to fold it according to that part there. So I'll be using that part as the guide. So you remember that I said the first snatch, the first important part of this snatching is always the waist. So the waistline area. So I'm going to notch the waistline area. Then you can pick the other parts that you want for the snatching. So I'll be notching all the 5 parts that are already marked out for this. So after notching, I'll open my fabric to the right side, and then I'll start attaching the loops to it. So this is how I'm going to attach them. So you make sure that it is open to the right side of the fabric, not the wrong side of the fabric. So I'll attach to every notched parts of both sides of the fabric. So this is I'm picking the back part now. This is the back part of this dress. So I'm attaching to both sides. So like this, I've done one side. Then I'm going to move on to fix the loops to the other side too. So this is what I have after fixing to both sides of this dress. Now I'm going to attach the front and the back parts together and sew straight down. So I'll be using the 1 inch I used for the sewing allowance to sew it straight down like that. Then after sewing straight down on the sides, I'm also going to sew the hemline. So guys, this is how it looks like after sewing. You can see how simple it is to sew this dress. Then you can go ahead to iron this very well. Now for this waistline here, so that you won't have any folding at the when you turn it over to the other side, you can just notch this curvy part here so that it's going to be straight. It's going to really, you won't have any squeezing on the waistline area. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other part too. I'm just going to notch it to avoid it squeezing. Then this is my rope for the dress too. This is the rope for the snatching. So I'm going to turn it over to the front side, to the right side now. So this is what I have. You can see the cowl neck, you can see the loops there. So I told you that I ended up removing about 2 of these loops because I didn't want it to be too much. So I ended up removing 2 and I had just 3 left. So this is what I have, guys. Let me know if you're going to be trying this and let me get your feedback in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.